Monday, August 1st, 1966. Under a brilliant midday sun at the University of Texas in Austin, a sniper's bullet pierces the hot summer air. At the base of the school's 310-foot-high clock tower, student Claire Wilson walks alongside fiancé Thomas Ekman. She is 8 months pregnant. The bullet enters Wilson's hip. It tears through her colon and uterus, fracturing the skull of her unborn baby, killing the child instantly. As he asks his fiancée what's wrong, Ekman is hit and killed by a second bullet. 231 feet above the ground, on the observation deck of the tower's 28th floor, architectural engineering student Charles Whitman has a 360-degree vantage point. From his bird's-eye view, the 25-year-old former U.S. Marine has just fired the opening shots of what will become, at the time, the worst mass shooting in America's history. Over 96 hellish minutes, Whitman will shoot a total of 45 people, killing 12 of them instantly and inflicting fatal wounds on 2 others. In a storage chest by his side, Whitman has an arsenal of weapons. They include a Remington 700 bolt-action hunting rifle, a pump rifle, a carbine M1, Luger and Galeazzi Brescia pistols, a Smith & Wesson M19 Magnum revolver, a 12-gauge sawn-off shotgun, 3 knives, and a machete. Whitman has more than 700 rounds of ammunition. He is here for the long haul. Adhering to the Marine Corps' one-shot, one-kill warfare training, Whitman targets his next victim and takes aim. The eldest of 3 sons, Charles Joseph Whitman, was born on June 24, 1941, in Lake Worth, Florida, to Charles Adolphus Whitman and his wife Margaret. Whitman's father was a firearms enthusiast, and Charles learned to shoot at an early age. But his childhood was scarred by domestic violence. One night in the summer of 1959, Whitman came home drunk. As punishment, his father beat him and threw him in the family swimming pool. A month later, the 18-year-old Whitman secretly enlisted in the Marines. During an initial 18-month service, Whitman scored highly on marksmanship tests and earned a sharpshooter's badge. In 1961, he began a mechanical engineering course at the University of Texas on a military scholarship. Whitman was a poor student, and the Marine Corps called him back to active duty. In December 1964, he was honorably discharged from the Marines and returned as a student to the University of Texas. Charles Whitman was a prolific writer and kept a journal. On the evening of June 31, 1966, he typed a suicide note, saying that he'd been a victim of many unusual and irrational thoughts. Whitman requested an autopsy on his body to discover whether there were biological reasons for the terrible crimes he was about to commit. As the clock struck midnight on August 1st, Whitman went to his mother's house in Austin, knocked her out, and stabbed her to death. He then returned home, and as his wife Kathy slept, stabbed her 3 times through the heart. At 11:35 on the morning of August 1st, Charles Whitman arrives at the University of Texas. He hauls his arsenal up to the 27th floor of the main building, 1 floor below the clock tower's observation deck. Whitman knocks the receptionist to the floor, then splits the back of her skull with the butt of his rifle. The first shots are fired that fateful day, when 16-year-old Mark Gabor and his 18-year-old brother Mike encounter Whitman's barricade to the observation deck. Using a sawn-off shotgun, Whitman shoots Mark dead and blasts Mike unconscious. Whitman fires 3 more shots, wounding the Gabor's mother and killing their aunt. As the clock ticks to 11:48, Whitman takes aim at the South Mall and fires. Whitman shows no mercy, targeting his victims with methodical precision. As the injured and dying lie on the ground, the sniper fires at those trying to drag others to safety. On Guadalupe Street, 17-year-old paperboy Alex Hernandez is blown off his bicycle outside the Co-op bookstore. Store manager Alan Crum runs to help, then heads toward the tower. Also on the street, basketball coach Billy Snowden is getting a haircut. Seeing the news, he tries to get a better look at the tower. Snowden receives a bullet in his shoulder for his troubles. Hit from more than 1,500 feet away, Snowden is the victim farthest from the tower to be shot. He would survive. Roy Schmidt, though, was not so lucky. On West 21st Street, the 29-year-old electrician hides behind a parked car. From about 1,500 feet, Whitman fires a bullet into Schmidt's abdomen. 10 minutes later, he becomes the victim farthest from the tower to die. As Whitman's onslaught continues, no one knows for sure how many snipers are in the tower. That includes the Austin Police Department. With no special weapons and tactics officers to call on, officers armed with revolvers and shotguns are no match for Whitman. The phone system is overwhelmed, and the police response is further hampered by poor communication on the ground. The cops have little or no way to communicate once they leave their car radios. 23-year-old Billy Speed is one of the first police officers on scene. He crouches behind a stone wall, but it proves insufficient cover. Whitman fires through the 6-inch spacing between the columns and kills him. Speed will be the sole police officer to die today. Backed up by civilians with hunting rifles, police officers fire at Whitman and pin him down, but the sniper remains elusive, firing back through waterspouts on the tower walls. From a plane circling the tower, police sharpshooter Marion Lee reports that there is a single sniper. Lee fires at Whitman from the plane, but turbulence prevents him from getting a clean shot. Whitman returns fire and the plane backs off. Police officer Ramiro Martinez makes it to the main building. Whitman has now been killing people for more than an hour. Taking the elevator up to the 27th floor, Martinez finds bookstore manager Alan Crum, public safety agent Dub Cowan, and police officer Jerry Day. The three men are joined in the tower by Austin police officer Houston McCoy. Out on the observation deck, shots whiz by Martinez's head and puncture the stone walls. For the police and civilians firing from the ground, anything that moves up here is fair game. Martinez calls McCoy over. They get to a corner and hear a shot. Crum has accidentally fired his rifle. Whitman's attention is diverted. The sniper is unaware Martinez and McCoy have got him in their sights. Martinez makes a move, firing 6 quick shots at Whitman. McCoy then fires 2 rounds from his shotgun, hitting Whitman in the head and neck. The time is 1:24 p.m. Martinez grabs McCoy's shotgun and runs to Whitman. He fires point blank into the sniper. "I got him," he says. "I got him, I got him, I got him." With 12 people dead, 31 wounded, and 2 more that would later succumb to their injuries, the massacre is the worst mass shooting in American history, a record that will stand until 1984. Complying with Whitman's request to examine his body, an autopsy was performed on the sniper on August 2, 1966. Medical examiners discovered a tumor in Whitman's brain, marked by a small necrosis. The coroner rules it had no influence on his actions. That result was revised by a commission held by Texas Governor John Connally. An inquiry on August 5th that year heard the tumor could have had an impact on Whitman. Pathologists found the tumor may have pressed against the amygdala region of Whitman's brain, known to influence fight or flight responses. The tumor may have affected Whitman's ability to control his emotions and actions. While the experts could not agree on the reasons for Whitman's murderous acts, one thing was abundantly clear: a sense of innocence had been shattered, and the United States would never be the same again.